Well, I get started. Let's go. Guess what? Entities don't want us to have this flippant conversation, do they? Oh, good. All right. So the title is How to Deal with Negative Entities and What the Triggers. This is a great conversation that Jenny and I started. And what triggered this conversation was, and I don't know if any of you guys have had this situation, it's like you can walk into a room and all of a sudden it's like someone or something happens and they're targeting you and you're like, what the heck? I've just walked into the room and people are reacting and not in a nice way. So you're like, what just happened? And I used to take this really personally because I always felt that everything was my fault. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my fault. What have I done? I've upset people and all that sort of thing. And it's actually, 9 times out of 10, it's actually not you. It's what you carry. It's how you stand. It's how you hold yourself. If you're really confident, it triggers a lot of people. If you know who you are, it triggers a lot of people as well, because what causes is their insecurities and their lack of confidence, or basically more their insecurities starts to be triggered, right? So kind of the process that I've learnt, and this is like, again, everything that I share with you is my personal experiences. These are the way that I've learnt things. And that is, I look now to go to see what's really going on, right? Is it an entity, or is it a person's insecurity? Is there a trauma that's been triggered? Is it a word that I've spoken that can trigger someone as well? So there's a whole variety of things that can happen, but it's basically, I'm always going into, is it me or is it that person? If it's me, then I'm going to address me. I'm going to deal with me. If there was a tone of voice that wasn't, very loving, or, I was a bit frustrated, or it came out slightly angry, then that's on me, right? And that needs to be apologized for or reconciled. Now, if you've done nothing and the person's, reacting to you, it's their issue. But that doesn't mean that we walk away from them and go, well, that's your problem, see you later. It's a case of coming from an incredible heart of love and finding out what's going on for them. Like I met a lady and I really wanted to get to know her. And I said to her, come on, let's do coffee together. Like, I really want to spend some time with you. And she went, no. And I'm like, what? Like, who doesn't want to do coffee? There's a problem right there. And she's like, no. And I said to her, I really gently asked her, I said, why don't you want to have coffee with me? And she said, because you will see who I really am. It took a lot of guts for her to be honest, and I really appreciated that. And I'm going, well, hang on, what do you mean by that? Like, what? And she's going, well, the spirit will show you things. And I don't want to be in that position. And I kind of went, oh, okay, well, fair enough. I made an offer. You decided not to consent. That's fine. That's free will. I'm okay with that. Thanks for clearing that up. And then I went to walk away for a minute, and then I stopped and I turned around. I said, do you think that maybe God would show me because he loves you and he actually wants to help you? And she just stopped in her tracks and went, oh, I've never thought of it like that. And we did have that cup of coffee. because it wasn't, you got to understand, if you're a person that sees or really intuitive, you can switch it off. You don't have to be reading people's mail every 5 seconds. And not only that, it's really exhausting. And then there's times that, you know, you are more aware. Sometimes I switch it way off. I just go, nah, I'm just going to go and enjoy myself. I don't want to see all that stuff tonight. I just want to have, you know, family time, or, you know, go to a wedding and have a good time and have some laughs and have a dance and, you know, be normal. And not that being spiritual isn't normal, guys. We're normally spiritual and we're spiritually normal. So in that sense, it's like not having to read all of those sort of things. And part of it is, you know, again, it's asking the questions, it's asking the spirit questions. What do you want me to do with what you're showing me? Do I need to do anything? Right? So this is where it's asking, where we're learning how to connect with one another, but on a really positive level, on a really creative and life-giving level. So if, you know, I've known people that have a gift of seeing, and they're constantly like this divine hammer where they're smacking people over their heads because they you know, they've got things in their life that need to be moved. But I'm on the belief that God is well able to bring each and every one of us across the globe into the journey of restoration, of learnings, of growing. What he does so beautifully is he brings people into your life in the season that you need someone to help you through some of the hurdles or the hurts or the traumas, or bring you into spiritual understanding, you know, or awakening, enlightenment, you know, or they come along to just connect with you so that you've got friends that have got, you know, hearts of gold, and they're friends for life. You know, there's lifers, but there's also people that come for seasons. And, you know, as I reflect on my life, I look at people that have been in my life for a season or years or a lifetime, and they've all played a very intricate piece into my life on moving forward and growing. Now, if you're not interested in growing, which is nobody here because you're all here, is that those people won't come into their lives because they're not looking for it. They're not hungry for it. They're not, you know, wanting it. Remember what I said to you last week. You know, the expectation or the attitude determines what you receive. And this is what happens in the spirit. So, you know, these are some of the triggers can be for people. It can be a memory. How many memories do we have that can trigger good or bad things? You know, happy memories, sad memories. You know, locations can trigger things for people as well. Circumstances that they're under, if they're under a lot of pressure. These are all the things that can trigger people. And this is why it's not necessarily always you that triggers them. And this is what I love about the spirit. Remember, I talked about spiritual intelligence. This is where we can tap into, you know, the heart of God, into the spirit, and ask what's going on for that person. So when you ask what's going on for that person, you start to see what's really happening for them, because often their response or their reaction is coming out from something else that's happening, right? So this is where, like, people get frustrated. There's a reason that they're frustrated. So what is that? Now, if they need an attitude change, fine. Some people need to, you know, be told, wake up or get over yourself, because they get too deep into their head. And I've had to say that to people. I'm going, rightio. Okay, are you finished now? Are you over it? Are you done? Okay, let's move on. So, but it doesn't mean that you don't let them have that time of venting or, you know, expressing, because that's really healthy. And I find women particularly need that. We need to vent because it helps us move on. Otherwise, we stay stuck. You know, sometimes we just need a good cry. Sometimes we need to just let it loose, even with God. You go, far out. I thought you were going to do this for me. Like, let's be honest with how we are in our relationships, because this is part of your growth as well as other people's growth, of being real, of being genuine, authentic. And this is what people are looking for. So, and obviously, you know, all of these things that I'm talking about, there's energy, there's frequencies. Now, when there's an entity, what do we do when an entity is kind of, you know, showing its face or displaying its face, or its, you know, attitude, but also its actions? Because entities can be very destructive, and they'll come in and try and cause disruption. They'll try and cause disunity. Remember, I shared with that when I talked about demons and things like that. Their ultimate aim is to bring disunity with yourself and disunity with others. So what do we do when we come across that? Good question. We've all got different ways of dealing with things. Now, I've got a number of different ways depending on the circumstance and the situations. Number one, we always stay above the circumstance, the situation. Don't ever come under that entity or that negativity influence. You might feel it for a second or a moment, but then recognize and go, hang on a minute, I'm not coming under that. And I talk to myself like that. And if I need to, I'll even say it out loud and go, hang on a minute, I'm not coming under this. Because it needs to be addressed. And remember, you are powerful people, so you have the power. Okay? Remember, everything's an offer, everything's a choice. Free will, anything that conflicts with your free will, you need to go, hang on a minute. Okay, I have a choice here. So all of this, you know, has a vibration of frequency. And like if you're an empath, you will be reacting to all of this. You'll be going, now, does everyone know what I mean when I talk about an empath? Someone that feels everything. Now, if you've got a child that feels everything, lots of conversations with that child, lots of protecting them in the spirit, lots of trying to educate them how to respond rather than react, because I find children that are really empathetic, they are reacting all the time. And they often appear that the parents don't have any control, which is often the case because the parents are not aware of what they're actually dealing with or this gifting that's on their child. So, and then there's another name for it, which is a geomancer. And that's someone that feels different energies as well. So if you want labels, there's a couple of labels for you. In the sense of, you know, you're feeling that energy. To me, I'm just like, we're just being what we're designed to be. We're being spiritual, spirit beings, and we are aware of what's going around us, multi-dimensional. So if someone's reacting to you verbally, don't just take the physical here, guys. Stop and see what's going on around them. Now, if you have eyes that are able to see, sometimes you'll see an entity sitting behind them, speaking to them and egging them on. And that's a really simple, easy fix. You just have to tell it to go. Like, you have authority. Now, you can do this silently or you can do it verbally, depending on the situation and the circumstance. But don't let that person stay with this in their ear, because we ultimately want to move all this negativity and all this influence that's demonic or evil or negative, whatever you want to call it. We need to move it, because this is where, as I've said before, evil prevails when good people do nothing. So these are the times that you, knowing who you are, knowing the authority that you carry, which comes direct from God, you can speak to those things and move it. You can change the atmosphere around you. You can shift it. If someone, this is part of what I do, if someone's reacting to me, and guys, I've had lots of it. People used to go, oh, they either love you or they hate you. And I'm like, wow, that's really harsh. I go, but I didn't do anything. And sometimes there's huge manifestations and you're like, what the heck? Who am I? Well, let's show you who you are. So, you've got to grab hold of understanding who you are and what you carry. Like, put it this way, where God is, you are. Where you are, God is. Now, think about how big God is, how amazing he is. Like, his attributes are incredible. So when you come from that place of knowing who you're connected with, then you have incredible power. We often give, let me put it this way, we often give influencers and rich people this, oh my gosh, they're wealthy, so they've got so much influence, right? They've got so much power. But we have so much more power than they have, because what they think is power or significance can be gone like that. It can be taken away like that. Whereas when you know who you are in God, no one can talk you out of it. No one can take it away from you. And you will always stand in a place of peace and stand in a place of authority, not in a way that I'm in control and you'll do as I say. That's not the authority I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the spirit realm of knowing how to deal with the things that we come up against. We've talked about principalities and powers. We have dominion over all of that. But we need to find the key or the entry point of why they think they have authority there. That's why some people will react, because they're reacting, one, through the entity that's attached to a trauma. It's attached to a memory or a situation, or they're feeling like they're under pressure because these entities are creating that around them. So when we are people that bring the light, we carry peace. People feel, a lot of feedback that I get from people, which I really love, is they go, I feel safe with you. And they feel safe to share their inner workings, like their inner fears, because there's no judgment, there's no criticism. I'm not going to condemn them. I'm not going to throw Bible verses at them. I genuinely want to help them. And sometimes they just need someone to talk to, just to vent, just to go, this is what's going on for me. And they have no one else that they can trust. Sometimes it works because I'm on the other side of the world and I'm not in their friend circle, and they are comfortable in just letting it all go. And I'm okay with that. That's part of why I'm here. And I know that. And I love it. I love it. I don't have an issue with it. I don't ever think it's a burden, because I always do it in the strength of the Spirit. I don't do it in my own strength. Now, there's a real key there, guys, because sometimes we get caught up in wanting to help everybody and we are doing it in our own strength. We're looking at their natural needs and we're trying to fix other people. I can't fix anyone. Only the Spirit can fix people. Only God knows how you're wired, and He knows your inner thoughts, your innermost being. He knows how to work with you. So sometimes people will react because they feel that you're a success and they feel like they're a failure. So they'll react. So jealousy can rise up. But it all, to me, all of that stems to insecurity. That's the root issue. They have a fear of failure because they feel really insecure. And often people that are insecure find it very hard to be successful because that insecurity will take them out every time. They'll start making headway, they'll start moving forward, and then all of a sudden doubt, or they'll start to second guess themselves, or someone can say a word that will take them out, and then bang, they take themselves out. So self-sabotaging is a real thing, and we all do it. We're all capable of doing it. It's a case of going, hang on a minute, recognize what's happening, recognizing what the thought pattern is here, recognizing the feeling that's going on in your heart. Like, why am I feeling that? Why do I think that? Where did that come from? And then sometimes it's like, well, when you were a child, your mother did this or your father said this, and that's implanted that programming in your subconscious, and in certain circumstances, that's what will pop up. So another really good example is, and it's when people have been abused and they have shut out the fact that they've been abused, sexually abused. Remember, I shared with you, they will departmentalize or they'll shut it down because that's part of the coping mechanism. So all of a sudden, these people are doing great, and then all of a sudden, I'll give you an example, actually. My daughter wrote a song about child trafficking, right? And we launched it in a big setting where we had hundreds of people. And we did not, honestly, it didn't even occur that people could possibly be triggered because it was just such a well-done song. It was a beautiful song, but it had a video to go with it. And people got triggered. People started to break down and cry. And then, well, not a lot of them, but there were people that did. And then when we sat down and spoke to them, they said, oh, yes, this happened to me. And they had shut it down. And it was like, oh, wow. Okay, so we had to take time to help those people because we didn't want to leave them in that state. And I mean, it's a very powerful song. And, you know, it's the presence and the spirit on it is very moving. I mean, you know, it took me probably about 50 times listening to it that I didn't break down and cry because it's such a moving and powerful song. And so a song can trigger things for people, you know, so, you know, and then you've got entities that they want to be the center of attention. So, you know, that's something that needs to be shut down too. Come on, guys. We all know that one person that, you know, as soon as they walk in the room, you're like, really? Okay. And you know, there's entities that are behind that as well, but it's still rooted in insecurity. A lot of it is rooted in insecurity. So part of the things that we need to do is we need to evaluate the situation. The question you ask, is that me or is that them? Is it an entity? And then the other thing is, well, do I do something about this or don't I? Right? There are things that I see that I sometimes will just let in the spirit, I see entities on people and I just quietly go, yeah, I see you. The person doesn't know what I'm talking about, but I'm letting the enemy know that I can see him. And he will be very quick to disperse or shut down, right? Because they don't want to lose their host. But then the journey goes with that is the relationship that I have with that person, or if they're open for things to be dealt with. Remember, they only have a legal right. What's the legal right? Is there an agreement? Is there a family curse? Is there words spoken? We can speak words over our self. This is where, you know, the battle is the battle of the mind, because what we think is speak. So this is where we need to come into, okay, why? Listen to yourself. A lot of people don't even listen to what comes out of their mouth. They're just prattling along and you're like, okay, do you actually realize what you're saying? Okay. And sometimes, you know, very gently I'll go, well, actually, did you realize that you just actually cursed yourself? Right? Depending on the relationship, guys. Sometimes I'll counteract what they say with a positive. I'll just go, well, actually, no, that's not the truth, because you really are really good at this and you're amazing at that and you're a beautiful person. And look how many people you help, because I'm counteracting what's happening around them with light and love, encouragement and truth. Right? So if you're in a relationship, this is a principle that I applied to my life. I never say anything out of anger. I'll always step away. I'll walk away from the situation and regather and regroup, because nothing is achieved when two people are angry or frustrated or they're elevated with trying to get their point across. Nothing is ever achieved. It's just the voices get higher and higher. You know, the body language gets bigger and bigger. The reaction gets bigger, and next minute they're in a punch up. And this is what causes a lot of domestic violence. It's because people, we're not taught, we're not trained or even educated in school growing up on how to deal with some of these situations that we face as adults. They don't want us to know how to deal with it. They want domestic violence. They want marriage breakups. They want turbulence. They want destruction. That's the enemy that we're dealing with. And the more we come into love and peace and acceptance and allowing each other to grow, allow each other to have the space to grow. This is the community. This is the people that is the future generation. That's what needs to happen to go with the shift that's coming over the earth. That's what we're learning. And honestly, folks, if people come along and they are disruptive, let them go. Just let them go. It's, you know, and sometimes it can be a partner. And that's a hard one to say, but, you know, through COVID, all of a sudden, two people are sitting at home and they realized how little they had in common, or that they weren't compatible, or they're frustrated and sitting in that enclosed environment. That's if you adhered to the so-called mandates, you know, and there's been a high percentage of divorce. So, you know, if we aren't grown up enough or mature enough to sit and talk through the issues and be reasonable on seeing each other's point of view, really, you know, it's like, let people present their point of view. And listen to it. I always put myself in someone else's shoes. I go, okay, this is how I'm feeling, but how are they feeling? Or this is what they feel like. This is what they're feeling, right? This is part of being spiritual intelligence. Feel what the other person's feeling. See what they're seeing. Then you'll understand why they're reacting the way they're reacting. then you can start to make inroads. We can start to bring healing. Yeah. So shifting atmospheres as well. Like if you feel something negative to come into your house, play music. Play music that's got the right frequency, so that you're not peddling the other side, but you're peddling the presence and the power of the spirit of love and light. And guys, I'm not really big into the new age music. It doesn't really rock my boat. But you find what resonates with you, right? Can I say, guys, I don't mind a little bit of rock and roll, depending on depending on who's playing it, right? I like upbeat music. I love, woohoo, let's go. Let's get our boogie on. So, all of that sort of thing. Music moves me. I used to be a singer. I love my daughter's music. I love it. As soon as there's a beat, I'm tapping. If I hear a drum beat, love drum beats, but go with what moves you, what you connect with. Okay, it's no point me saying, well, I listen to this music, so you should listen to this music. It's not going to work for you because you don't resonate with it. You've got to find music that resonates you and connects with you. Some people like to do saging. I'm not big into saging. I'm kind of go, so let me explain this. Lots of people use crystals and saging and, different little ceremonies and rituals because that for them is their connection on how they move things, right? Each to their own. Remember who I am? I've shared with you. I like dealing with the top person that can make all the decisions. So I'd rather go directly in the spirit to the creator of the universe and get action, right? But I understand that some people, to hold a hand or, to hold a rock or, have certain crystals in their houses and that sort of thing speaks to them. Don't have a problem with that at all. It's each to their own. And also whatever else. Some people, remember I was talked about portals. Sometimes going to that chair where you sit and meditate, you already stepped into a space that's clear of negative energy, right? Because you've been sitting there with good heart intent, and you can sit back into that in those spaces. It could be a space in the garden. It could be your car. My car's my favorite one. But if you're walking into somewhere that, there's energies happening. Like, okay, let me give you an example. You go into a restaurant and you're like, ugh. Now, when I go into a restaurant, I can tell you what the manager's like. I can tell you what the food's going to taste like before we've even sat down, because I can feel it in the atmosphere. And I've walked into places and going, nah, I do not want to eat here. And I've walked straight out. And they've been 5-star restaurants. I'm going, nah, I do not want to sit in this. Again, we have choices, right? Depending on the circumstances is when I'll move stuff if I need to move it. And other times I just go, you know what? It's all yours. And so this is, again, guys, what I've said about asking questions. Ask the spirit questions. What are you to do? And I shared this with Jenny yesterday. Look, just because you see something doesn't mean you have to do anything. A lot of us get caught up in the works because that's how we've been programmed, especially from religion. You've got to work to find your place in the heavens. You've got to hand over all your money, otherwise you're going to hell. All that, honestly, BS, and I'm going to be rare and raw there. That is not how and who God is, and that's not what we carry. That's not what we bring. So at the end of the day, it's like peel off what is false and destructive thinking. What others think, it doesn't matter. What the Creator God thinks absolutely does. But please, in addition, be open to learning, be open to growing, keep your heart open. You know, it's like always learning. I'm always learning. I love it. I don't miss a day where I'm not learning something, because I just am so hungry for the more. It's more of what and who the Spirit is, more of what I can be in the Spirit, what I can bring, more of releasing why I'm here. You know, as you get a bit older, you realize, oh, okay, well, it's only so many years left, possibly. But it's getting ready for the next. Can I also just say this? Someone asked me a question about reincarnation, and they go, what do you think of it? I go, can I be really honest, guys? It really hasn't connected with me. I've never felt that it's a truth. So after being asked that question, I was like, well, I've never really kind of explored that. So let's go and see what creation really is about. And this is what I was presented with. Reincarnation is another consciousness trap. And let me explain this. It keeps you looking to the past to try and find where you think you might have lived before, rather than moving into the new of where you're going. That's my take on it. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. But it never sat with me, but I never asked why I didn't feel it sat with me. And and the other thing, it's like, oh, you've got to do this lifetime again because you didn't learn the lessons the first time. I don't see that as God's character. I don't see that as his will or purpose, because he's well able to help us learn our lessons the first time round if we're open to it. And I don't feel that he is one of these that has to do recycling. I just don't see it. It doesn't connect with me. And like I said, that's my opinion. And I'm always open to being shown differently. But I was just like, nah, it doesn't sit in my spirit. It doesn't resonate. When I hear truth, my spirit resonates. It rises. It lights up. And I think discernment is a really big thing we have to start really getting intuitive with, because of the stuff that's coming out. There's a lot of stuff coming out that's been written by AI. And I look at that and I go, well, if it's written by AI, there's no spirit on it. It's all mental. It's all computerized. And it needs, everything that we do needs to have the human spirit on it, or the spirit of God on it, for it to have life and to have truth. And that's a true frequency. I've seen a lot of things come up on Facebook, and as soon as I see it, I go, that's AI. It says the right things, but my spirit tells me it's AI. It's been written by AI, right? It's not someone's first-hand encounter or understanding or drawing down wisdom. So, and there is honestly no judgment, guys. It's whatever works for you. But I'm always looking for that higher connection, that higher truth. I've got levels of truth that have grown over the years because they've been, grown on. It's like, this is a level of truth, but then here's another one that goes on top of it. And then here's another one that goes on top of that. So this is where we're all always expanding in knowledge, in understanding, in wisdom, because we're coming into deeper layers of truth. I mean, I read recently scripture, which I've shared with you as well. Every scripture is a portal. Every word is a portal, right? But I heard recently that scripture has 77 layers to each scripture of truth. I'm like, there's a lot of truth going on there, because often we read it at this level when we need to go deep into it. So if I'm led to read scripture or scripture comes to my mind, I'm always going deeper with it. I don't read it for what its face value. It's the same as we don't look at people at face value. Let's look at their heart. Let's look at who God created them to be, because when you look at face value, we would throw a lot of people away because they don't fit our profile learnings. If you don't look a certain way, if you don't behave a certain way, if you don't drive a certain car, if you don't have a certain husband or a certain money in the bank account, that's all profiling that we've been educated with, programmed with, right? So it's look beyond what you're seeing. This is everything. Look beyond it. Go, this is what I'm seeing in this level, but let's go deeper. Let's look at the other levels behind it. And that's with negative energy. That's with people that are triggered by you. Don't just take it at face value, at first reaction, at first glance. Let's look deeper, because there's so much more to be revealed and shown. I think I covered everything there. Is that all good, guys? So I guess I'll finish it off with this. Let's be in awe and wonder of who you are and who others are. Let's be in awe and wonder of this incredible creation that we're living on, you know, connecting with the trees and the oceans and all that sort of thing. And as I'm working on a deeper dive into ley lines and portals that are on the earth, I'm just getting so much more beautiful revelation of how everything is working together and how it's important that we do and be who we're meant to be, right? Not a performance, it's being. Let's be those loving, caring people, not to be abused, because that's what we're coming out from. You know, this, oh, we just pour grace on everything. Meanwhile, they're, you know, pedophiles and they're molesting people and they're controlling people and they're emptying their bank accounts. But let's just pour grace on that. Let's just look the other way. No more. No more. We do not tolerate evil or bad behavior, but let's look to the root of it so that we can then be a help if they need help. If they don't want it, fine, move on. Gather people that are on the same page. At the end of the day, guys, this is meant to be fun. And I've felt before, you know, I got on, when I finally got on, is that, you know, sometimes we need to shake things off and just have fun, have a good laugh, have a good dance, have a great cup of coffee with somebody. If wine rocks your boat, have a great glass of wine. You are entitled to enjoy this life. You are entitled to enjoy your life. And I feel sometimes we get so serious that we forget to have fun. And if you want a scripture that goes with that, it's like the joy. It's the joy that brings healing to your heart. It's the joy that brings life. Who wants to be with a person? Now, come on, let's be honest. Who wants to sit with someone that's really down and dreary and dull? When someone with life walks into the room, doesn't that shift the atmosphere in the room as well? It's like, hello, right? I walk in, I go, hi. Everyone looks at me and they go, hi. And sometimes I do it just to stir them up because I want to help break them out of their hi, life be bigger than life sometimes. Not all the time, just sometimes. Sometimes when the situation needs it, right? Because it can shift the whole atmosphere in the room. It's powerful. You're powerful, every single one of you. All righty. I think we're right on. Wow. I did that in 3/4 of an hour. I hope you all enjoyed that. Now, a show of hands, guys, who would like to start to hear about the different realms in the spirit that you can access? So if you want a scripture for it, it says, in my Father's house, there are many rooms. People deem that as houses, as in a house with a room, and you get one room. In the spirit, there are so many different realms that can be opened to you to explore. And I've had a lot of fun exploring them. Not always setting out to. Sometimes it's just a trip that the spirit takes me on. And they're a lot of fun. And there's lots of great learnings in there as well. So, I'm sure most of you have heard about the courtrooms, mobile courtrooms. Well, what about the library room? Has anyone heard about the library room in the spirit? Yes, of course you did, Nina. Right? There's a library room. There's a room that has a book that is written for your whole family line. It's recorded. Very fascinating room. There's a realm in the spirit of where it's like a green pasture. It's a realm, green pasture. There's a realm where it's water, it's a lake. And some different people have, I've seen that garden. I've sat in that garden. Some people go, yeah, I've seen that water. But there's so many other realms. And then if you're really keen, I'll start talking about the different experiences that you can have in the spirit. I'm talking about trances or visions, relocation, translocation. So if you're all up for that, I'm up to bring it to you. Sounds like fun. Awesome. All right, guys, have an incredible time. Apologies for not getting on. That was really weird. I sat here for 15 minutes beforehand waiting, and it's all good. We got there. Thank you for your patience on that situation, and those that helped to rectify that. Truly appreciate it. Love you guys, and have an awesome rest of the week, and I'll see you next time.
Oh,
Bye.
thank you. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Dottie.
Bye.
Thank you, Dottie and Jenny.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Love you guys.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, buddy. Hey, Obi. Talk to you on Monday. You're on mute. See you, Bradley.
Bye-bye.
Bye, buddy.